Hey y'all, how's it going? This is a real rough setup. I'm still trying to figure out all this tech, and since it's YouTube and all this, you know, they censor everything. So, yeah, so whatever. So what happened is my friend Clint, let me find him here. This guy, okay? Third World Assassin. Oh, he changed his name. I gotta figure out how you do that. I have a crappy Twitter name. At Feed the Gods. Okay? He's a big disciple of William Cooper. So he shared a video, and it is a replay of Bill's radio show from back in the, I don't know, early 90s, the Clinton era, this episode, the hour of the time. So we're going to listen to that, and it's covering a couple goals. One of my goals is to make short ads for shows, okay? And then I need to have daily content while I drink my coffee. And we're going to follow my interest where it leads. That's the beginning of a research trail that hopefully my goal is to make this occult conspiracy community I've been a viewer and interactor with forever to be more action based, and that we start forming an alternative to the UN's version of cooperation. All this communism is it's not really cooperation. I mean, it's just all confusing. That from what I can tell, most people are like me, that they just watch these videos and have an interest in these topics. It's a very much smaller group of people that actually practice anything from this. I mean, I'm lucky to meditate and to try to learn more about astrology. One time I made a sigil, you know what I mean? So, yeah. So let's look at Clint's video. Here we go. And please go support these people. You know, this is an interesting topic because the medium is the message, as the influential media science individual Marshall McLuhan, what was that, in the 50s, that he was talking about that. So I mean that to say that the process is the destination. I was very influenced by, I went to private school, Christian Catholic schools till the 8th grade, and then my folks got divorced when I was 9, and it sucked out in the high desert of California in between Vegas and LA, so I said, fuck this, and I moved back to live with my dad, went to public school at Lake Hamilton in Piercy, Arkansas for the first time, and that's where I got into acting through friends of mine at the time, Regina Ott, a girlfriend at the time, and then I met Robin Hall-Smith and his lovely parents. That's the first time I ever played Dungeons and Dragons, and never really played since then. I always wanted to. I'm just so irritated. All my life I've tried to organize things, all this network marketing and all this creative stuff. I've never been very good at that. I've participated when others have invited me. I'm thankful that Reed Means invited me to work as a production assistant on his films Wrenchocracy, which was during the Trump ascendancy in 2016, a political satire, and then there was the Dream Retrieval Experiment, which is like a really experimental art film. Anyway, so, and then my friend Colin that I met from there, he is somebody that was brought up wild, homeschooled, and all that, and is my best friend, and he is a member of Beartaria. And I don't like Owen Benjamin at all, but I really like the people that I have met. I'm very impressed with all of these people that are about as loosely Christian as you could be, most of them, but are working diligently on having a community based around family and farming and that kind of a thing. So, without further ado, we're going to hear William Cooper, who also saw further into the truth. The truth is timeless. Whatever is true will always be true. But he is somebody who's very patriotic, that was in Vietnam, and like the boomers of that generation, what an effect all of that had on them. And it is interesting to hear this description of some Cold War, not so Cold War, saber rattling between the Russian President Yeltsin and in regards to retargeting missiles towards America because of NATO actions, and now we see all of that finally, I guess, into this World War III. But then it's a tough thing because we know that everything is simulated. You know what I mean? Like, all the world's a stage, so the Freemasons and Shakespeare and the Bible, they were always doing that stuff. Now we have the technology, the internet on that level. But it just begs the question, how should you address something? I mean, it does seem very possible that there will be all these mass deaths of a war. I mean, World War II really happened. It had this effect, even if we look at that and know that America, it just ended up becoming the next Nazi stronghold, and now that Nazi stronghold's moving over to Russia and China, I guess. Anywho.
Good evening. Once again, you're listening to The Hour of the Time. I'm William Cooper. Ladies and gentlemen, it's getting cold here. I don't know what it's doing where you're at, but yesterday we had a beautiful, sunshiny, warm day, and this morning it started out the same way, beautiful and warm, and a little bit of dusted snow was on the ground when I woke up, but there was not a cloud in the sky. It was the sun was shining. It was nice temperature. And then the clouds began to drift in, and the temperature fell like a rock from a 10-story building. It's cold. And so I guess we're going to have some bad weather tonight. And if you hear things bumping and banging and groaning in the background, it's the wind. The wind. We get some pretty high winds up here sometimes. And those of you who listen to this broadcast for several years know that. You've heard you've heard it before. And you've heard things blowing around and hitting the house. And sometimes they're big things. It's not funny. Well, things continue to happen. Bill Clinton just looks worse and worse every day, and so does NATO. And who are all these jerks that keep hollering to send in ground troops? Boy, they sure haven't studied their history. You know, when I was a young man, I was eager to go off and fight a war for my country, and I went off and fought in Vietnam, and those little guys running around in the jungle weren't as easy to beat as everybody told us they were. They were pretty tough. In fact, to this day, I have a tremendous respect for the Viet Cong and the North Vietnamese Army that opposed me in Vietnam. And I think if any of these people would stop and look at history, they'd think 3 or 4 times before they sent ground troops in to fight the Yugoslavian people. I don't think that's very smart at all. And they're on the verge of completing a pact with Russia for mutual defense. And if that passes, then Russia will be duty-bound to send troops to oppose NATO on the side of Yugoslavia. Yeltsin, who usually doesn't say much militarily and doesn't rattle any swords or anything like that, has threatened to retarget the Russian nuclear warheads against NATO and the United States, and has warned that we're on the verge of World War III, and nobody's listening to him. Of course, some obscure minister from the Russian government then denied that they were retargeting the missiles, but it doesn't make any difference. It only takes about 30 minutes to do it anyway. It's no big deal. And so, just the fact that Boris Yeltsin would say something like that is scary. That's really scary, folks. And the whole world appears to be turning against the United States of America, and I don't blame them one bit. You know, I don't like the United States of America much anymore either. Not just because of this, but because of a whole lot of things. I think we're on a one-way street, headed into something that nobody even wants to think about. And I think it has the potential to be very, very, very bad. I want to read to you something. Now, I don't know if you've ever heard of Mother Shipton or not. She was an English woman who died in 1449. That's before Columbus discovered America. And they called her Mother Shipton. And she made some prophecies. She wrote some poetry and made some prophecies. And I'm going to read one of them to you now. I'm not telling you that she is some prophet of God. I'm not telling you that she knew what she was doing. She could have written this just by accident. She could have had a dream, or she could have had some kind of psychic vision that allowed her to really see into the future. I don't know the answer. But I will tell you this, when you hear this, it will send chills up your spine. It sent chills up my spine today at noon when Doyle brought this home. And I read it. And so I'm going to read it to you. I want you to listen very carefully. It's really spooky. Mother Shipton's prophecies. Mother Shipton was an English woman who died in 1449. Now listen carefully, folks. A carriage without horses shall go. Disaster filled the world with woe. In London, Primrose Hill shall be its center, hold a bishop's seat. Around the world men's thoughts shall fly, quick as the twinkling of an eye, and waters shall great wonders do. How strange, and yet it shall come true. Then upside down the world shall be, and gold be found at root of tree. Through towering hills proud man shall ride, no horse nor ass move by his side. Beneath the water men shall walk, shall ride, shall sleep, and even talk. And in the air men shall be seen, in white, in black, as well as green. A great man then shall come and go, for prophecy declares it so. In water iron then shall float, as easy as a wooden boat. Gold shall be found in stream and stone, in land that is as yet unknown. Water and fire shall wonders do, and England shall admit the Jew. The states shall lock in fiercest strife, and seek to take each other's life, when north shall thus divide the south, the eagle builds in lion's mouth. Then tax and blood and cruel war shall come to every humble door. And now a word in uncouth rhyme of what shall be in future time. For in these wondrous far-off days, the women shall adopt a craze to dress like men and trousers wear, and cut off all their locks of hair. They'll ride astride with brazen brow, as witches do on broomsticks now. Then love shall die, and marriage cease, and nations wane as babies decrease. The wives shall fondle cats and dogs, and men shall live much same as hogs. In 1926, build houses light of straw and sticks, for then shall mighty wars be planned, and fire and sword swept o'er the land. But those who live the century through in fear and trembling, this will do. Flee to mountains and the dens, to bog and forest, and to wild fens. For storms shall rage and oceans roar, when Gabriel stands on sea and shore. And as he blows his wondrous horn, old worlds shall die, and new be born. Isn't that spooky? She wrote that sometime in the 1400s. I would imagine she died in 1449. And she was known as Mother Shipton. I've read this before, many, many years ago. I've forgotten all about it. And I think there's a book out about Mother Shipton's prophecies, but I don't know what it is. Haven't seen it. Well, get pen and paper and get ready. Tonight, I'm going to tell you a little story. Wrong one. And it's not the wind, it's just me. Here we go. This is the right one.
America's Illuminati and their warlords of Wall Street and Washington. In just 8 years, these censors and international government gangsters took us from the greatest creditor nation to the largest debtor nation on earth. Our standard of living has dropped like a rock for 4 out of every 5 Americans. They have foreclosed on our homes, our farms, our factories. They've exported your childhood and surrendered our arms. They want a new world order. A new world trade. The banksters own the Federal Reserve. It's private. They own it. It's neither Federal nor Reserve. The cashiers make that fiat funny money stuff you call dollars for 2 pennies. They lend it back to us at full face value. Then charge you interest. You get the debt. They get the interest. They get the gold. You get the shell. What is a new world order? A new world order. A new world order. Idea. It is a big idea. A new world order.
Of England. She wrote a poem of a few hundred lines predicting many things that indeed came to pass. And it's really interesting. But her poem was focused on specific worldwide disasters, and she dated them that would come back to back through sky dragons. And the first one would appear a century after a world war. That's 1940. Yeah, the events that led to World War II started in 1939, but the war didn't really erupt until 1940. 100 years later, 2040, the return of the first sky dragon. And she said another sky dragon would immediately follow. That's 6.5 years later. Same thing Nostradamus depicts 2 major worldwide disasters back to back. Same thing as I show in Chronicon independently. The Nemesis X object every 792 years arrives in 2046, the end of the Mayan long count. The Phoenix phenomenon every 138 years lands in 2040. Crazy, guys.
CFR controls the CIA, the FBI, the ATF, and the FDA. They don't give a damn about the POW and the MIA. Hillary, Hitler, Marx, and Mao. They want a new world order. They want it all. And they want it now. This Illuminati imports the dope. They create the chaos. Bring us out. Crush our hope. They created AIDS.
Sorry, I just forgot. How do you? I think it's Dimitri Medvedev. Is this guy I'm looking for? Mendeleev, pardon me.
Imports the dope, they create the chaos, bring us out, crush our hope. They created AIDS, it's a designer disease to bring you down and grovel on your knees. They want to vaccinate your child and give them the bark. They want to illuminate you and keep you in the dark. They want you to pay for it with plastic, surrender your soul. They want you under their thumb, under their control. What is a new world order? A new world order. A new world order. That is a big idea. Rule the nation. World order. That is a big idea. Indoctrination. Incarceration. A new world order. Legislative trade. Illuminati. A new world order. The people on the top want a new world order. That's the shot. A new world order. New world order.
that? I'm going to read you some tonight from a book called Freedom on the Altar by William Norman Grigg, which is a nice little book that contains an awful lot of information. Most of it I've already given you over the years, but he sort of has a nice way of putting some of it together that I like. And I would encourage you all to find a copy of this book. It's called Freedom on the Altar by William Norman Grigg, and read it. It's published by the American Opinion Publishing Incorporated. That's American Opinion Publishing Incorporated in Appleton, Wisconsin. That's Appleton, Wisconsin. And I think you can also get it, you can get it from American Opinion Book Services in Appleton, Wisconsin. And here's a number, area code 414-749-3783. That's 414-749-3783. You can order this book with a credit card, I believe, if you call that number. Okay? So, we get nothing from it, just in case some of you are wondering. Edward Gibbon once said, "The empire of the Romans filled the world. The world became a safe and dreary prison for Caesar's enemies. To resist was fatal, and it was impossible to fly. Wherever you are," said Cicero to the exiled Marcellus, "remember that you are equally within the power of the conqueror." End quote. Sridhar Ramphal, co-chairman of the Commission on Global Governance, said this, and I quote, "We have ceased to be the world of nation-states that we once were. I don't believe that the world is going to retreat into a situation where people are going to run away from this global neighborhood we've become, because there are no sanctuaries left. There's no place to run to." End quote. Now that's pretty scary. For 50 years, ladies and gentlemen, the United Nations and its supporters have insisted that the body represents the last best hope of mankind. One recent expression of this sentiment was offered by the Deseret News, which is Utah's largest circulation daily newspaper, which editorially insisted that, and I quote, "Despite its dismal recent showing, the United Nations remains the world's
point of view, or we don't
best hope for cooperation and peaceful coexistence." End quote. During the United Nations' 50th anniversary, the institution's founders and founding events were presented
believe in the divinity of Christ. I think that there you can make an argument that the
through a haze of nostalgia. The world body's present undertakings were depicted as the selfless labors of
Gospels, which were written.
He was just a prophet.
Significant. No. We don't even believe he was a prophet.
What do you think he was? What do you got?
heroic idealists seeking to summon a peaceful future. But there are many people, ladies and gentlemen.
Ben Shapiro is
so obnoxious that he's even obnoxious here in this live stream. I can't quite get the thing away because I'm just not as smart and Jewy as Ben Shapiro.
Gentlemen who have seen that future and who want absolutely no part of it. I'm one of those. Survivors and witnesses of the United Nations 1961 peacekeeping massacre in Katanga, a province of the former Belgian Congo, regard the Blue Berets as something less than heroic. Less than heroic. Religious scholar Thomas Malner, who has ample first-hand experience with United Nations peacekeeping activities, testified, "I have often walked in the footsteps of United Nations troops intervening for peace and seen pillage, rape, and injustice. In the ex-Belgian Congo, Indian United Nations soldiers were feared like the plague. 30 years later, Russian United Nations troopers returned to Bosnia after demobilization to continue ravaging land and population. Meanwhile, active Blue Berets stationed in the Balkans deal in drugs." End quote. Nor has the United Nations endeared itself to the productive and responsible business classes of Haiti, who have been strangled by United Nations sanctions and blackmailed by the international community into accepting the return of Marxist psychopath Jean Bertrand Aristide. Although Americans are justifiably proud of the valor and skill of the American troops who fought in the 1991 Gulf War, it must not be forgotten, ladies and gentlemen, that the armed conflict with Saddam Hussein's forces was fought to empower the United Nations, not to protect American interests. Therefore, the Americans who perished in that war are numbered among the United Nations victims. Furthermore, the Iraqi civilians who remember the United Nations-supported terror bombing of Baghdad, and the Iraqi children who have undergone hideous privations because of the United Nations post-war embargo, to say absolutely nothing of the hapless conscripts who served as cannon fodder for Saddam Hussein, are less than impressed with the United Nations humanitarian pretensions. The only real winners in the Gulf War were the curiously indestructible dictator Saddam Hussein, the United Nations, and all the people who make all the bombs and bullets and guns and munitions and landmines and artillery shells. Christian and Muslim pro-life activists who attended the 1994 International Conference on Population and Development in Egypt can testify of the colonialist condescension of United Nations officials. That condescension curdled into bitter anti-Catholic hostility when the Church attempted to moderate the anti-family elements of the Cairo program. Chinese women compelled to undergo compulsory abortion and sterilization under Red China's United Nations-supported population control program undoubtedly look upon the world body as something other than a family-friendly institution. And Tibetans, whose culture is being effaced from the earth by Red Chinese occupation forces, must be aware of the support which the Chinese Communist government is receiving through UNICEF, the United Nations Fund for Population Activities, and the United Nations.
Okay, here's a basic question based on what I'm reading here. It is only now, okay, this is Black Betty. Okay, it is only now, from the end of the 20th century, that society begins to understand, and even then timidly. Okay, so I assume this is somebody else writing from the past. Through practical examples that an outstanding and highly qualified but irresponsible, cynical, cynical. Doesn't that mean that you're like me and the original cynic guy was like, this is all bullshit? And he was, upper class philosopher who lived like a bum in a drainage culvert or a big pottery vessel thing. What's wrong with that? You don't like Grumpy Cat? Immoral scientist with a world name. Means a foreigner, not a Westerner, I suppose, is no less dangerous for people than an outstanding one. But an immoral politician, military man, lawyer, or at best an outstanding bandit from the high road, the society, I assume this is talking about this scientific chemistry society that Dimitri Mendeleev, what is his name? Anyway, The society was inspired with the idea that the world academic scientific environment is a caste of celestials. Celestials. That's like astrologers, people that are the Star Wars, star-focused, diviners. Monks, okay, a monk is more of an independent Christian, much like the Gnostics before the Christians, and then a holy father is a God cop from the Nazi Catholic Christian realm, who day and night care for the welfare of the peoples. And ordinary mortals should simply look into the mouths of their benefactors, meekly financing and implementing all their scientific projects, forecasts, and instructions for reorganizing their public and private life. In fact, there is no less criminal element in the world scientific community than among the same politicians. In addition, the criminal antisocial acts of politicians are most often visible immediately, but the criminal and harmful but scientifically grounded activities of prominent and quote-unquote, and that means they're dubious of these claims, and authoritative scientists are not immediately recognized by society, but after years or even decades on their own public skin. I assume it's just saying your average person doesn't even understand that stuff enough to have a commentary on it, and then the public skin would be the news media, which is the first draft of history, or our public discourse for a republic and a democracy. Let us continue our study of this extremely interesting and secret psychophysiological factor of scientific activity. Let's call it conditionally psi factor. Okay, so I assume that's where the ether commentary is going, and then quantum physics of the consciousness that we access and our eyeballs are a two-way street with affect the outcome of a measured scientific experiment, such as the double slit experiment, where it appears that the particle wave duality of light phenomenon is detected, where if you don't look at it, it behaves like a wave, and if you do, it behaves like a particle. But my basic question is, what if we are under a scientific dictatorship, which we certainly are, why are they so retarded? They seem to suck. So then, I mean, it's not just. To me, science and religion is the same problem. That one is blind without the other. So if that is theosophy or Luciferian doctrine, well, then I buy into that 100%. This division is artificially created by the powers that be through first religion, when Christianity became the official religion of Rome, and the same Vatican people are there in Dr. Fauci, who is somebody made a point, I believe that is within the Great Share podcast. Let me find that. Or Deep Share? Yes. If you go here, this I discovered from Brandy, what is her last name? She was just on End of Days Radio. Let's go look at that, and I'll get back to that. Okay, this is my favorite show. It's the only one I really care about the most. Um, it's once a week, typically on Thursday or Friday. It's for many hours. There's a guest at the beginning, but it's exceptional because there's an open forum. It's live streamed on YouTube, and you can participate via the text chat as well as the StreamYard video conference panel. But the reason I heard of that podcast I'm about to mention is this episode, Brandy Renee, UFO.
And I was shown that that Lucifer would return, that the UN and the Vatican were going to be completely behind it, again, under false pretenses. He's going to show up and say, I'm here to save the day, right? And, okay, fine, you know.
Yeah, of course, you can say whatever you want. But I've always hated censorship. It's the internet.
Sometimes, you know, once they get you for your first love bite, it's kind of like how aware you
I forget the name of that park, but I remember that park. I lived in Seattle for about 2.5, 3 years back before 2001, 9/11. All right, so we were looking at the deep share. The reason I heard about this is because there is an episode about Matthew North, who was one of the alt media conspiracy occult researchers of recent years who made quite an impact to stand out. This series, it's like 10 of them. I've just started, but it is about this idea of the expert. Experts say, and so that is this fascist top of the pyramid idea that only these people are worth listening to. But again, all of this is falling apart, right? I look at everything as a scam on both sides. Say you have the Great Awakening, no, pardon me, the Great Reset with the Klaus Schwab, you will eat the bugs, right? And then you got the alt-right Trump, Alex Jones, and they are the Great Awakening. So I think that is a bad cop, good cop tactic. I also believe that, just like we heard Daniel's intro about this end of days stuff, you're supposed to go, devil bad, Judeo-Christian God good. And I'm like, no, these are both, all this stuff of culture. Culture is not your friend. I'm Terence McKenna, and I think I'm actually right about this one, but wouldn't that include all of my mushroom propaganda, and even what Chad is talking about now, who is actually not a part of cultures. So I get the thing about the expert being the scam, and I get the thing that we're all decentralized as the folk talking about that, and I certainly am down with all of that. That's where my bias is anarcho-conservatism. Just cut all this BS out, you know. And how do we get past these smartphones? I mean, you know what I mean? Like, all of this is because the point made, and people really don't like it, especially people that make their living making these YouTube shows, is to say, really, should we even spend 1 second doing this? Because the goal of the experts and the psyop of socialism is every second that you're watching my video. Is that really your best use of time? at the least we should do is go, how do I make a diet, of how much of this stuff I consume? How do I make a ratio of actions that I take in relation to information that I consume? So yeah, check out that series. And then, since I brought it up, I also recommend this. I think there's a Matthew North. I could be wrong. Maybe that's... No, I know I'm not wrong. Because that's where I heard about all this. Oh well. So, that is at the end of today's episode. Any constructive criticism is welcome. I will get better day by day at VJing on the fly. And so what would you want from this product? I mean, the product that I want to make is the best of the internet on one channel. This is a small version of that, of just every day's Groundhog Day, and I'm poking my head around in the Twitterverse, or trying to pull something from the information that I'm consuming, so I'm not just totally have nothing to show for it. All right, thank you all very much. If you do want to help a brother out, I'm so poor today. I had a bag of coffee with beans in it, and I had to put the beans in a towel and get a rubber mallet and beat it on the ground because I don't have a coffee grinder. Because Chad's got to have a coffee. I applied at Arby's last week. Evidently, a piece of crap in their eyes. They didn't call me back. They'll tell me one way or the other. I have an interview as a grill operator at the Waffle House today. So, yeah, if you could do me a big fave and head on over to Linktree, Chad.Warren, and buy me a coffee, I'd really dig it, right? Because let me tell you this. Let me tell you what this means to me is not just Chad needs money, but we need to be a real community, okay? So, for example, this wonderful woman that I've met through my friend Mason here in Hot Springs, he goes by @RobotSandwich on Twitter, is Dominique. Okay, so she has an 8-week group meditation course, and we did our second week, which was a body scan meditation, okay? And this woman evidently knows all of this quantum. She does like a hypnotism from influenced by Dolores Cannon, and we'll just read here what it says. Howdy, I'm a BQH practitioner and QHHT intern who has been passionately pursuing the study of metaphysics since my early years. As an only child, I spent much of my time exploring the supernatural occurrences happening around me and seeking answers to life's mysteries. My love for creation led me to pursue an Associate of Applied Science in Visual and Media Arts in 2016. That's where she and Mason met. I have a thirst for knowledge that led me to study the works of great minds such as Salvador Dali, Albert Einstein, and Thomas Edison. I discovered that they all utilized theta brainwaves to solve problems, gain insights, and receive downloads. Intrigued by this, I delved deeper into the study of theta and stumbled upon Dolores Cannon's teachings and books. This led me to become a QHHT. Shouldn't that, does it tell quantum? Yeah. Intern myself, completing Dolores Cannon's QHHT Level 1 course at Dolores's Quantum Healing Hypnosis Academy in 2021. In 2023, I've decided to add the expansiveness of Beyond Quantum Healing to my practice. Okay, so that's what I'm talking about. Money and the spiritual arts. So, this is an 8-week course that she's on, that she's giving, that I'm participating in. She says, pay me if and when you can. So, to be fair, how much should somebody get for an hour of such a class? Well, I mean, I'd say $15 at least, which is hard for me to pay for. But I'm going to pay, let's see, if I did 4 times 15, that's 60 bucks. I'm going to pay for half of it. I'm going to get, I should be getting some money today, my monthly trust fund money. It's embarrassing, but it's the way it is. So yeah, I'm going to give her the 60 bucks. Not going to be spending any money on green. I am enjoying not consuming cannabis because I can dream and save money, and really I just get irritated on the green more than anything. It doesn't really relieve my stress anymore, and nobody needs to be drinking Milwaukee's Best Ice Tall Boys at $2.25 a pop, even if I just drink one. So that's the way this works. It does. Even if you don't have money, it's all about negotiating your time, trading values. That's the only way that we're going to get anywhere. Is if we step outside of this consumer slavery. Oh, I have nothing but excuses and nothing to show for it behavior. So when I'm asking for money from you, it is, yeah, I want money, but B, the part of that is a social contract. I still believe in that social contract of like giving somebody else money to show that you appreciate the value they shared with you reflects that you think that you believe people are going to treat you that way. You got to pay it forward. You got to sacrifice. Okay, thank y'all very much. Good day.